Good morning, everyone. This is the monthly meeting for the Southampton Council on Aging. It is Wednesday, January 8th at 9:30 a.m. Welcome, guests and board members and COA director. All right, so first on the agenda, we've called it to order, 9:30, open time for the public. Flo, do you have anything you'd like to share with us as a member of the public?
No, I do not, thank you.
Okay. Any kind words or support or?
Can you probe like that?
I just did.
How much did she pay you to say that?
So approval of December's minutes.
Sorry I sent them out so late.
When did they come out?
Like, late last night.
I've read them, so I can make a motion to approve.
I second the motion.
I second too.
Me too. I don't know that I...
All in favor?
Aye.
You're always perfect. Well, great.
Anybody object? Okay, moving on. Thank you, Nancy. I didn't really get much into email this morning, so.
You're gonna get them today for today's because I'm on a new thing.
Okay, I know. The longer we leave them, the harder.
Yeah.
New Year's resolution number one.
Look where I'm going.
Okay, Kay, update from Friends.
Okay, yesterday Friends had a long meeting. They had their regular meeting and then the annual meeting. The regular meeting, I can just review a few things. They reviewed their minutes and then they reviewed the treasurer's report and they have a balance of $10,741 in their account. And then they recapped the December luncheon, which was very successful. And then they they're going to have a bulk mailing in February for the March newsletter. And then from now on, I guess they're going to have 3 times a year to get to more people when they have the bulk mailing. And they recapped the spring tea, which was a success. They had about 30 people there, and everyone enjoyed
You
that.
mean holiday tea? Spring isn't here yet.
Oh, it says spring tea.
Oh, that's what, the spring tea has already been scheduled because we had such a good time at the holiday
okay,
tea.
but they talked about the spring tea, but
Correct.
they're scheduling it, which will be about in May. I'm sorry. Okay. Then I gave a report about what we're doing. So.
What did you say?
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
I
I have no idea what I'm
we're
doing.
doing through the year. We talked about programs that were started and different programs that, I don't know, how did it go? Was it pretty thorough?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think the feeling was that if she's the liaison for Friends, that it should be transversed back and forth, that whatever, we can talk about the COA. And we did mention that Jim was a new member, I think.
Oh, yeah, I didn't mention that, but you mentioned it at the,
I wasn't going to throw you under the bus on that.
Annual meeting.
And then I just filled them in on some of the things that we hit on, and the researching for grants and participating in the master plan, and to address the needs of seniors, and how we track the spending of monies through our treasurer's report. And yeah, so. That's about it. I don't know if that was what you wanted, but
No, that's good.
I think every, I don't know how often you want me to,
Well, anything that we're working on, or
Right,
I think
so
it's
I
good to share with them.
Pickleball. We talked about pickleball.
Oh, yeah, that was the
was
main
number
thing.
one.
Talked about, how we developed that this year, so.
It'll go to voicemail, just.
All right, thanks, Kay. I mean, I think just whatever we kind of talk about here, or maybe some of the strategies we're putting together, just to make sure I just want to make sure we're on the same page. So
All right,
I will
okay.
silence this now. Boom. Okay. So I'd like to ask if someone could make a motion to move the treasurer's report up ahead of the director and volunteer report.
Can I make that motion?
I make
I'll
that
second
motion.
that. I'll
Okay.
second that motion.
All in favor? Because Josie has to leave. You can't vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Because Josie has to leave a little bit early. So.
Yeah.
Does everybody have a copy of the treasurer's report?
It did get sent out yesterday.
Yeah, I did, and I don't know if I brought it.
Yes.
This is your budget.
That's our budget.
I didn't bring it with me.
Okay. So you want to cheat with me? Does most everybody have a copy of it?
Opening it now.
Okay.
So frankly, everything looks good. And, we're pretty much right in line with Vicky's report. Thank you, Joan, for getting
Yes, that was
final
nice to
little-
find, well, it
Was
was
that-
easy.
Was that a warrant that we submitted, or did that?
Yes,
building-
so what that is all about is that's when we did the mass mailing. They came in as a whole mail, and we had them folded.
Right, right.
So that was the $51 to have
So it
them
was on a
folded.
warrant?
So it was on a warrant.
Okay, I wasn't sure if an
So-
invoice that went to Vicky that we never came to
Well,
us or what.
I'm gonna verify that, because they did bill us, and everything I have to do, I have to process, so
Mm-hmm.
I may have just not shared it with you. But I'm glad that it was discovered. I remembered when she
Yeah,
said
and
what
when
it
it
was.
was right on the button.
Right on the
penny.
button. Good.
So we're
You know,
slightly ahead on the, your salary line, but I think because you took a few hours Monday, then we're probably gonna be okay. And I don't know if you asked her about flipping,
I did not talk to her about that yet,
Yeah.
and I will.
okay, I mean, we should be okay, I just, I want it appropriately allocated,
Okay.
if possible.
So, and I did include the first payroll in January,
Which is-
because I had it, because you sent it to me, so.
Plus, it's the last week in December, so it kind of really keeps us,
Right.
so we're doing really well. We just need to spend more money.
We're gonna do that. We have plans to
time.
spend more money.
Is that Anita I was listening to?
I know, isn't it, you know what, the first year I came here, it was, there is no money. And the
Yeah.
second year, we got that wonderful grant. And then there was a lot of money, and we had spent a lot of money.
Good.
And now it's, I know we need to spend it so that we'll keep
Okay,
the place
keep
going.
Any other questions on the treasurer's report?
No, looks good.
That's good. Do we have a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
Second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thanks, Julie.
Thank you.
As usual. I don't know what we'd do without you.
Well, think about it.
Okay,
Cancel that thought.
director and volunteer.
So did everybody receive it? I do have copies if anybody needs it. So, major things that happened in the month, and looking ahead to the next coming months. Do we want to talk about the hours from, we had a whole discussion with Emmett from EOEA about our hours.
Yeah,
Do you want to talk about
explain.
that?
So I know when we submitted the state formula grant, we put extra hours in for Flo, for Darlene, and for Joan, because there are certain things that come in after our normal business hours, so we kind of put it in for like vacation time and things, so fill in for Joan in case anybody goes over budget. But for Joan, we said evening programs was how we defined it. So when Joan had to work over an hour and a half one week working on the newsletter, which is very time consuming
And the
hard to-
property tax work-off,
and
which
property
I want
tax
to talk about
work-off,
after.
right. So those things are hard to do during the day when there's constant interruptions. So when we submitted it, it got rejected as part of the state formula grant. So Joan reached out to Emmett and wrote a lovely response saying that whatever it takes to keep the center functioning, those monies can be used in that purpose. So we've kind of broadened from this very narrow focus, which was never intended to be quite so narrow, to, really what it takes to keep the center open. And most directors or most department heads work 31 hours. And, unfortunately, Joan gets paid for 26, but we have the extra state formula grant to help supplement that, and it was rejected, but now it's been clarified thanks to EOEA.
Because I don't mind working, I love working, but it was like the day before Thanksgiving, and I don't know if you're familiar with the senior property workout tax program. We have 5 or 6 people in town. They either volunteer at the library, they volunteer for the senior center, they volunteer at the school, but it all comes to the senior center director, the Council on Aging director, to manage that. And December 1st is the deadline to submit the paperwork. So the realization was December 1st was Sunday, it had to be done.
Before you left for Thanksgiving.
Before I left for Thanksgiving. So, and I had no problem with that. I mean, I'm, a responsible person. If it had to be done, it had to be done. Since then, they have decided, and I think Jen works for another town. And so the way they handle property tax work-off is they make them a part-time employee. So now they have to fill out employee paperwork, and it has something to do with taking out some kind of tax, either federal or,
Just a clarification, Jen used to work for another town. I don't think she has time in her schedule now to work for another town, but, so I don't know whether it was then or something.
Jen?
Jen is our treasurer, because she does all the payroll and things like that.
So
Yeah, not
my
me,
understanding, and I don't know, I know we're on tape, so my understanding is that she took up some part-time work
Okay,
to
okay.
compensate so she can pay for her bills.
Okay.
So that's my understanding.
Yeah, that's kind of,
Yeah, probably private. So anyway, they've changed that so that they have to report to her office to fill out the paperwork, and then I keep track of the hours. So Tony and people, but not, yeah, so there are 5 people anyway.
Yes, it's all confidential and there's
Okay.
no,
Okay.
so we don't.
So anyway, we're starting that up
done
again for
every
next
month?
year. They, once a year,
Oh.
once a year
Okay.
submit it, and
Got
they
it.
can get $1,500 taken off their taxes. So they have to be a homeowner and they have to be.
And it's always in,
December 1st is the deadline.
So, I mean, it's a great program. It's offered through this, Commonwealth, through the assessor's office. The burden kind of falls on the Council on Aging director.
I just don't understand why it falls on the Council on Aging.
It sounds like it was changed.
Well, no.
The certificate's still
Still
up.
90% of it'll be me, just that 10% will be
You would think it would be in the tax department.
well, we don't have a personnel department, we have a personnel board.
Yeah, so I mean.
So it would, in other towns, it may fall under personnel, but we don't have it. And it helps the seniors, so I can see why it came to our department, which is it's not a problem. It just takes time.
Yeah. Okay, so the rest of your director's report.
So sand has been a big thing for people, and we're still getting calls for sand, and we're making sure that those needs are met. Yes?
Let's talk about that.
Would you like some sand? After the fact.
Oh, my God.
I'll make sure you get some Monday. We're getting more buckets. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it
Never occurred to you. I know, but absolutely you should have some.
Also,
Huh?
a ramp.
Actually, that I would have even slid more.
Yeah.
I would have slid further, but I probably wouldn't have been landing on granite, so.
Do you have a handrail?
No.
Okay, so a handrail and some sand would be helpful.
Do
But
you
the-
do handrails too?
Well, we might consider that. There are some programs out there.
Yeah, and it's interesting you should mention a handrail because we just changed insurance companies and we haven't had, the house was not built with a handrail going out the front door, but we do have the blue granite slab steps that we'll use ice melt on and, or the Paul Safe House ice melt.
Yeah.
But what was interesting to me was when we changed insurance companies, the new one picked up that we did not have handrails going to the front door on those 3 steps.
Oh.
And we now have got to get them.
Really?
Yeah, we only have
I
2
don't have
steps,
either.
and I think that's why we didn't need them, but,
Well, supposedly we
you
didn't
know.
need it either, and
might
now,
have-
20 years
It might
later, we
have been
did.
helpful.
Right.
Yeah, because we
Yeah.
had 2 steps, like I was saying, Sharon with Josie, we had this conversation when I picked her up,
Yeah.
and I have a exit to our back porch, and on one side it's only 2 steps, and we had to have a handrail, so, from the building inspector anyway.
Yeah, and
There's a
it's
move
interesting
for
though,
it.
because the building inspector has passed this house for 20 years. It's been sold twice. We're the second buyers. So they passed it as fine, 20 years. It was only the new insurance company that said it was noted you do not have. Really?
Well, it's safety awareness.
Oh, sure.
I mean, there's a lot of modification, there's a big poster as you walk into the center about house modification, and
Yes.
there is programs out there to do showers, to do, handrails, to do a lot of things that help a senior stay in their home. So I think that's a program that is vital. Maybe I should publicize that in the newsletter more.
That might be a good idea, especially with winter upon us. And a prime example sitting in front of us. God love her.
She was our poster.
She's the poster child.
No skating and handrails.
I know, I used to love to skate.
But I think Randall was at the select board meeting, I watched it on TV last night, and he was saying that sand is being used a lot this year because it's not so
And
much snow, but so
ice.
much ice.
Yeah.
So that, I'm not sure how much he has it or how much more they're getting,
They're plentiful right now,
Oh,
and they
they
do
are,
a nice
okay.
mixture of salt and sand.
Yep.
Some communities just do sand, but the salt helps, obviously, to melt, so. The salt is more expensive, but anyway, we're looking towards this, the next few months to increase programming. Our Tai Chi is going to be regularly scheduled for Mondays at 11. Glenn Leonard is our instructor. We have a new Zumba Gold teacher.
Is there a cost associated with that?
Right now, we're charging $3 across the board. So our line dancing is $3, our Tai Chi will be $3, and our Zumba Gold will be $3. And we're going to look at, how many people show up and the compensation that he wants. Like some get $15 an hour, some get $20 an hour, whatever we've contracted our vendors. So sometimes we make a little more, sometimes we make a little less, and from our formula grant or from our revolving fund, we can pay for that. Or, we're talking about maybe scholarships, maybe people that can't afford the $3. It probably costs us closer to $6, so we're compensating $3 of that $6.
So we can pay him hourly and we
We will
collect?
pay him hourly and we collect. That's how it works, right?
Okay.
And then he gets on our payroll, our warrants.
Okay.
Just like our chair yoga person and our line dance teacher.
Because we were talking about, we do have monies for programs, so what, if we look to see that we're having extras, and how can we use the money we have for programming to support some of programs like the Zumba Gold or the Tai Chi or even the pedicures or whatever, so.
Yeah, there's been some good discussion about how to utilize it, because we did, fortunately, had the override, so we had the money for the director came out of the wages from the town. So there is money for programming, so that's what we want to use it for. We have a couple things, like we had that murder mystery. There's a vaudeville show put on by the Small Planet Dances. They got rejected by the Cultural Council, so we're going to see how much they charge and see if we can still have it here at the center. So it was at the church last year. It was a wonderful program on World War II, I believe. And it was music and dance and costumes. It was wonderful. So we're going to try it at the senior center, because I think our space is almost as big as that hall. They didn't use the stage. They used the hall. And I think we had 50 people, and we can fit 50 people, so it'll be interesting. So that's scheduled, I think, for early May, possibly a Friday or Saturday. So I am looking at after-hour programming.
Are you doing a murder mystery at all? Because that seems to be very popular.
So there is a show, I'm gonna call him, Steve Henderson, he goes away January, February, has family in Florida, lucky him. And so we do have a play scheduled. I think I'm not 100% sure that the murder mystery is scheduled yet.
Okay.
But if it isn't, I'll make sure it happens, because you're right, that was well attended. I just saw that Easthampton Country Club was having a murder mystery. I'm not sure who does it, but, and the Lions Club is having a Valentine dance.
Yes, they do every year.
That's marvelous. I'd like to advertise that. I think, we should do more of community things.
It's
What's
at the Log
happening.
Cabin, I believe.
Yeah. But I think the seniors especially like dancing and music and the Log Cabin, right? You can speak highly of the Log Cabin.
Yeah, we live there.
I need to get your schedule, by the way, or get it offline. That starts again in March.
Much.
Anyway,
St. Patty's Day.
I'm excited for the year. I think someone else, Madeline, brought up memoir writing. She originally was thinking of a book club, but I guess there's several book clubs in the area, so she was thinking of memoir writing, which I think is a very important thing to leave a legacy for your family and friends, write down some of your history. And anyway, she's really willing to spearhead that, and so maybe February, March, we'll start that program.
Who's going to do that?
Madeline Hunter. She's kind of new to she's from Easthampton, but she was very active in the tea. She had never done the tea before, so that was the first time. She's getting involved with friends and decorating.
Former teacher.
Pardon?
Former teacher.
So we're fortunate, we have lost a couple key people in the last year or two, and so it's nice that we get some new people that come in to re-spark, the activities and the events going on. I don't know if you have any questions for me.
Joan mentioned the plaque.
Oh, yes. So we lost Vicky Zabawa and Teresa St. Martin, and I'm not sure it'll be friends, but key people that we feel, we want their names to be remembered. So originally we had talked about maybe a picture with the plaque on it, but now I'm thinking just a perpetual plaque that we can add them to so that their names will be in the center. So something about, you helped our legacy, or I'm not sure, somebody will help me write a little saying, and then we'll just have plaques that we can fill in, like they do for the,
The veterans downstairs or
Yes,
something.
yes.
Who was, I was trying to think, there were two members on the board that served for many years.
Somebody mentioned her yesterday, Phillips.
Oh, yeah, we said Brooke Phillips.
Brooke Phillips.
And
that's
who
her
was
name.
the-
Arlene Seeley was on the board,
Thank you.
too. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, they
She's the one
served.
you get her mail.
Wasn't there
She
Grace?
served in that.
Oh, yeah.
And Grace, right? Was there a Grace?
Gladys.
Gladys.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
Gladys,
the name.
they call her.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Okay, so there, there's three that
Yeah.
nothing was ever, mentioned to be nice. That would be perfect.
And I think there were some, Francine may know, because there were some memorials given to friends in honor of a few people. Maybe that's how they used to do it. If somebody, recognized them, they could do a little
Yeah,
plaque.
Flo has 4 names for it.
Rosemary Keller also.
Okay, all right. So we're going to get that plaque together within the next month or so.
Okay, great.
And that would be members, former members.
From members or people that contributed financially, or what was your thought on that?
It could be financial, it could be, time, talents,
Time,
whatever,
yeah.
treasures, whatever they made a mark on this, they contributed above and beyond. And it could be a board member, it could be a friend's board member. I don't think we'll narrow it, we'll just put Southampton, have somehow benefited.
Contributed in some,
Seniors who contributed,
yeah,
basically.
to the success of the center or whatever, yeah. We'll get with the words, but yeah, it won't be restricted to just friends, because not everybody's a friend, but people do make donations.
Yes, we saved you a chair. We knew you were coming.
Hi, Josie.
I could have picked you up too, Chris. Did you sleep in this morning? I'm teasing. 9:30.
I hope you don't mind.
She's early for the 10 o'clock.
So sorry. That's fine. That's good. Thank you for joining us. Okay, anything else on Joan's report? You want to touch base on the survey?
Oh, the survey and I just touched base quickly about the grant that we sat through a
And they found out
slideshow
that
or
we
a...
couldn't apply for it.
Yes, we couldn't apply for it because it was government. It was,
Right.
and what was the name of that? It was a health, already forgotten. Did I write it down?
Yeah, they didn't do municipalities or government, but 18 slides in, they made that meant they meant
Yeah.
that.
That would have been... Something healthcare, something, was it? No.
I'm going to get out of your minutes to go see what it was.
Yeah. Anyway, so that didn't work, but the survey, so we've, as Kay said we're going to do another mailing in the spring or for March, so that we can tell all the dates of the Friends meals, all the events coming up, and get people interested and excited about what's happening at the center. And part of that is the survey that we've been talking about for a while. And there was a survey put out in fall of 2017, so we're going to use that. We have a little core group, Lori included, and I've forgotten who it is.
Chris and Janet.
Chris, and thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, another group. We're just going to meet a couple times. We're going to look over 8 or 10 questions that are key that would help us to program and to think towards the future of the center. And if people aren't using it, why they're not using it, what would we need to add to have you come use it, or at least be interested in what's happening in our community and in the senior level. So that's going to be ready by mid-February, so we can put it in the newsletter.
So you'll call a meeting for that group. That anybody else want to
Yeah.
volunteer to be on that?
In the survey.
We don't want to exclude anybody in this group.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's the best way to get responses from the survey? Do people respond when you put something in a newsletter like that?
So the last one they did get, how many did they get? 150 or something, I don't remember, it was a while ago. Andrea was key on that.
And then they think they do it at the luncheon too, on top of it, in case,
Right.
to try to, like we did
Boost
for
it.
open space and recreation, and have the survey available here, not just the mailing.
Yeah.
But I think we could try to do like a Survey Monkey or something like that for the seniors, for those people that are more apt to do it online, and we can email out
Did
to
they
our
do
email
that with
base.
The
the
open
Department
space?
of Open
Yeah.
Space?
They did, yeah.
So somebody's familiar with that and could help us to figure
Pro
that
forma,
out.
I just hate online stuff.
Yeah.
So you can do the written one.
No, I mean, we ran, when I was with Commonwealth Opera, we used to do surveys and stuff, but number one, if you're dealing with an older population, a lot of them aren't comfortable with
We're
computers.
dealing with the 60 and up population,
Oh,
so it's
well, I'm
important
not
that we
there.
have 59.
But we'll have hard copies, and I think it
Yeah.
would be interesting to do it
'Cause there's different,
electronically.
yeah, I think there's
Yeah.
different
We'll reach
people
more
that will
people.
do more, so I
Yeah.
think we shouldn't just restrict it to the hit written if we can.
And sometimes, depending on prior activities and incidences, it's easier to do online than to try to
Right.
fill in the dots.
Well, I'm going to be popping up on that because I'm really very concerned about the issues related to the internet.
Oh, yeah.
And so whenever someone says Facebook, I'm going to say,
Oh, don't, yeah.
But,
We don't
uh,
I
use
think
that
that's
word
a
in here.
different,
yeah, but
But this is a
Animal
monkey
private.
too, I mean,
Yeah.
are there cookies, are they recording your private information? How is it going to be used?
Well, our goal is to reach as many people as we can,
Yeah.
and I think I don't want to, I always appreciate your input, but we'll
Oh, you
vote to
don't.
determine, well, the group can always vote to determine if that's a way.
I always say Roundup works too.
I do want to step
Then you
back
can water your
and
lawn.
I had a revelation yesterday that my assistant is my administrative assistant, not my assistant director. I don't know why that never connected. And we are going to be filling out a form eventually, looking for a interim or as needed administrative assistant. And so if Darlene is out, then I can have somebody, besides our wonderful volunteers that really carried me through
Yeah.
that time. But I do understand that maybe in the future, maybe 2 years down the road or 3 years down the road, I mean, that could be something we would look at. I know we're a small community. I just heard that Westhampton has a 5-hour director. So I should cherish my 26 hours. So I can't even imagine running a program in 5 hours a week. Of course, I understand that, community is much smaller. But I asked Arlene and I asked Flo to do some of the same things that I do. So I'm fortunate to have 2 hard workers and reliable workers. So, but anyway, we are working on having some.
I thank you for sending me the job description. I was going to mention I'd like to meet with you and we can go
Yes,
over,
absolutely.
what you want included for your.
And we have to make sure it follows the same guidelines as the latest one that comes from PPB.
Yeah, there's your new job description or.
Format.
Right.
The form
So,
itself, yeah.
the
I
format.
think, for example, we'd have to to rewrite the job description. And we have to talk about scoring it and, what impact
It
that's
already
going to
exists,
have.
though, the job already exists.
Well, I mean, I
to
think
back
that
up
there are
to that
issues that we
position.
really should be discussing about it.
Janet may want to be involved with that as well.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. It's the one that's been approved already by the PPPB.
For the administrative assistant?
Yes.
Yeah, but now this is a casual position, and would the same degree of responsibility fall on somebody who's just working intermittently?
Right, that's a good point.
And,
Yep.
and, things like that. Just so that it's worded properly and it meets your needs. I mean, that's what I'm really concerned about.
Okay, that's a
And
good idea.
This may not be the time to bring it up, but
go ahead.
we have to, kind of look, we've been looking long range, and I think that we need to think about succession planning. That even though we'd love to keep everybody forever,
Right.
that's not realistic. So, this might, either of those positions could be kind of a stepping stone or training ground for
Something more
future.
permanent.
Yeah.
Yeah, the format has changed because there was an assistant director. Nancy was the assistant director,
Oh, but
but
they
because
both-
they were both
Yeah,
doing the same
part-time.
job part-time. So, just the format's changed, and it's different in every town and every council, so, but, yeah, I would, willingly work with however we want to structure it and however we want to word it. Let's get together very soon. The holidays
Yeah.
were busy, so let's do that
Yeah.
within the next week or
My
two.
concern is that your needs are met, and that we do it, properly, so we're not going to get, we could get a complaint, for example, equal pay requirements. Well, my job description's the same as this person, and I'm making less.
That's true.
So that's why I was just thinking that we need to pay some attention
I think
to
some of the
that.
scoring and things and salary compensation things get set through PQB, does it not?
Yeah.
They take a look at it and
Right.
apply their
But
lens.
they
to it
use
as
the
well.
job description
Right, yeah.
to fit it in.
Are you still on that board?
No.
This is 3/4 of a former PPP.
But if we use the example of the van driver, and then we wanted an interim or as-needed van driver, so we had to go through the process. Of course, right now, that's at a standstill. We didn't have anybody apply, it was posted,
We need to
et cetera.
expand,
And
yeah.
so, but it was similar, but their salaries were, well, one had more experience, but their salaries was a little, I think we brought up the salary for the interim one so that it would be at least, somebody would be interested in doing it.
But it wasn't exact to the current van driver.
Right.
So, yeah. Okay, good point, Jim. I appreciate that. Okay, and as far as other things from your report, so you're working on putting that on the MCOA, the van driver?
Yes.
Okay. And the survey, we got that. Okay, I think those are all the questions. I know that I talked briefly with Joan and a couple of the other folks here about, I know Northampton works with Northampton Y, and they get a trade-off program a little bit that they can use their facility. I just heard, and of course, it was not a reliable source because it was online.
On Facebook?
Possibly on Facebook. Maybe a Planet Fitness moving in where Peebles was.
No, I saw that last night.
So I don't know if that's true
It's a
or
huge
not.
rumor going around
Yeah, it's a
anyway.
huge rumor.
Haven't heard that.
Somebody said TJ Maxx, so I don't know.
Yeah, no,
So-
it's between the two.
It's probably none of the above. But anyway, I vote for Home Goods personally, so nobody asked me. So anyway, but if that's the case, then we can also pursue that. I mean, there's the small gym, but there's nobody there, and we probably want if we're going to open up and share things, we want something that's more supervised than just access to a place with machines, because we have that here more or less. So.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, I don't know how people can go into a gym with nobody else there and work out.
And feel motivated.
Yeah, I mean, you fall off
Yeah.
what do you call it, treadmill or
Yeah.
Or you could fall on your stairs.
that doesn't happen. We've eliminated that problem.
That was perfect.
Okay, very good, you guys. nice.
She's
This
quiet,
is
but when she's
pick on Josie Day.
Does Flo want to give her volunteer report since you're here?
Sure, if you want me to. Somebody have a copy of it?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, report of December 2019. Mailed birthday cards to 21 town residents 80 years old and older. Mailed one sympathy card, mailed one get well card. That might have been Jody.
The gift that keeps on giving.
Completed and filed RSVP report for November. Took requests from 11 seniors in need of services. Made follow-up calls to 8 people who had requested services. Submitted by Florence Collins, volunteer coordinator, Southampton Council on Aging, December 30, 2019.
Thank you, Flo. Thank you
Can I ask a
for the
question?
work you
How
do.
does that, how is it working? Not how does it work, but how is it working with the people who need services and request it? Are we able to provide those services with?
Well, very
some of the-
often. I mean, once in a while, we get a call and they want like a certified plumber or something. Well, of course, we don't have that. We don't have that need there. But it worked good. We have a few that volunteer too, that don't take, won't request any fee. But right now, we've got a new young lady on there that I think Joan met too one day. She's helping Laurie shovel. And so pretty much we were able to match up. Very seldom when I call, because I do make the follow-up calls, very seldom do I hear that someone doesn't get back to them. Or I mean, I do hear it, but not that often. It's usually, I've either, we've done it, we've covered it on by ourselves, or someone's been wonderful, and I'll have them again and whatever.
Volunteer program.
Okay, but I do hope to get another mailing out though, where we're reaching out to the community and hoping that next newsletter that we can get some new volunteers.
Okay.
We do need that. Okay, thanks.
All the
Thank you,
numbers
Flo.
at the top of your report, Joan, reminded me. You had shared yesterday at the Friends annual meeting some of the
Bigger numbers.
bigger numbers, and so maybe at the next board meeting, you can
Yes.
kind of share with us from January to December, the results of that you collected in my senior center. I mean, it's a calendar year, and to see
Yes.
how many people we're serving.
Yeah, just off the top of my head, there's about 370 active people that we have helped one way or the other. Either they're active in the senior center or we've helped them through service programs or so. 380 people is pretty good. And
We're going to try to see if they can put us year over year, so we can track the last 3 years. And
yeah, let's see if I can do that for the next
Yeah,
meeting.
let's see how if we're growing and we're reaching, and if we're not reaching, how do we reach besides an online survey?
I mean, in the new census, we'll have realization of how many seniors really
really
are in
have,
town,
yes.
because the last one was 1,240 10 years ago, and we know we're up to almost 2,000.
Yeah.
So we're still helping on minute, but these are the people that need us or want us in order to come here. So I just feel that the Southampton people are very independent, and when they need us, they'll find us, and if not, there's other people that are helping them, or,
Did you say there's 2,000 seniors in town?
Yes.
that's the
Wow.
guesstimation.
That's the last, when we pulled a report, that was from Lucy from the state, that was about the last number we had.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
Well, no one's getting younger,
Yeah, that's a third of our population. right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
33%, she said. Isn't that- yeah.
Oh, I said a third.
Yes, but it's...
Okay, tomato, tomato.
But it is incredible, you're
invite
right.
them to join us.
So, for a third of the population, we should have representation in that,
Oh, yeah.
whether it be-
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so the survey will help, and,
Yeah.
And
when
that
we-
3% built the town.
yes.
Let's not
And-
forget that.
And
That's
if you
true.
look at the voting population, which is probably maybe a little over 4,000, it's half of the voting population.
Wow.
Is it really? Wow.
Last I looked, it was
incredible.
like 4,200. It could have changed
Yeah.
somewhat, but it can't be, so, I mean, it's not a vote to ignore, for sure, so.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah. That's a scary figure, that the younger people are not voting in bigger numbers.
No, but but there's,
Well, some of them are under
Children,
18.
yeah, I realize that.
of the
Yeah.
4,000 approximately 4,000 eligible voters, or 2,000 of them over or 60 or older.
Yeah. I have 43 registered voters. Well, how many show up to vote?
Well, that's a whole nother topic.
Yeah.
That's beyond our scope. Yes.
Yeah.
Can I just ask one question of Joan? That West Hampton email,
Yes.
I could not open the slate.
Okay, I'll send it again, but it happened very late yesterday, and I was sending out the board minutes, and so I thought, well, I should send that out. It's very interesting. It is on a bingo day, so it may not work for you, but they are offering to have us go on a sleigh ride. They're having, you can take
Yes, I could
60
take a look
people,
at it.
and they're going to have grilled cheese and tomato soup at the church, and it sounds like a really nice winter thing, and it's something to do in conjunction with another town. So I think they want us to do more things with other towns.
How
So
would
maybe
you in
we
a
could-
sleigh ride?
They rented they were hoping for snow, first of all.
Yeah.
They rented, I think horse and carriage is what it is, but it could be a sleigh.
What's the, what was the date, do you remember offhand?
The
February
19th?
19th. Why don't I read the announcement?
Oh, you have it right there, okay.
She's got it
All
up
right,
here.
the Friends of West Hampton COA is sponsoring a sleigh ride on Wednesday, February 19th, 2020 at 1:30 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. The sleigh holds up to 12 people comfortably, and you may hop on and off the ride as many times as you wish after each loop. Bring your lawn chair so that when you are not riding, you can sit around the fire sipping hot cocoa to keep warm. Tomato soup and grilled cheese sandwiches will be served at West Hampton Woods Unit following the sleigh ride at approximately 4 p.m. We will be departing the West Hampton Congregational Church parking lot at 1:10 p.m. and will head to Clay Hill Farm, located in Chesterfield, Mass. Carpooling is recommended. The cost of this fun-filled afternoon is $5 per person. Payment will be collected on the day of the ride.
And so this is the West Hampton Council
West
on
Hampton,
Aging?
yes, and this is the small one, as you said, that she has, what, 5 hours?
Yeah.
Right, this is the small one, but it's
The Friends, she
nice to
said-
get involved.
It was funny when I said, she only has 5 hours, and the Friends president was, she has us. And I said, you're right, the Friends make a huge difference.
Oh, huge,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, great.
Well, thank you.
So we'll have to promote that. And Darlene sent out a updated, kind of like, things that
Yeah,
are new
I
in
have a
town.
copy of that,
Do you have a
too.
copy of that?
Yeah, we want to use the email that we have for the newsletter, but,
That's, I mean, this is for everybody to see. Yeah, it came out yesterday. So,
not getting it? Okay.
and we can post it too, but it talks about pickleball at North School on Sundays at noon, Tai Chi, Zumba Gold, and then the continuing Spanish and beginner Spanish. There's Wednesdays, so.
we just feel the word is not getting out. I know, Tony did a wonderful job with the Spanish class, and actually 4 of you are involved with it, which is awesome. And I think he'd like to continue it, but it's how do we get different people, new people, to know about it? And maybe this time of year is difficult because people do maybe go away for the winter. But I don't know, she added little pictures and color.
Yeah.
She did a good job.
So, yeah, that's
new
good.
printer.
Yes, oh, great.
Merry
Congratulations.
Christmas.
Add
right?
one more thing about the sleigh ride and ask you about Joan. Reservations are necessary and must be made no later than February 6th, 2020. And it tells you who to contact, Deb Bartholet, okay, and that gives the number. And will we have like any kind of a sheet downstairs?
I will start one today.
Fantastic. Thank
So
you.
it's only 12 people can sign up though?
No, they
Well-
want about 60 people.
Oh,
But
so they do 12 at
we
a
may
time?
take 12, yeah, right, they keep changing the people.
Okay, okay.
Plus, if we want to take our bus, we can take 12 to 14 people on the bus.
Okay.
So, we can look at that, or you can, West Hampton's not very far, you can ride your
drive it.
own. You can drive it.
Yeah.
Ride your bike? Ride your bike?
Not really.
Not this time of year.
No, not this time of year. That's pretty hilly
Yeah.
and wet at times.
Yeah.
But then they're going to go from West Hampton to Chester though, right?
Correct.
That's where they're
And the
That's
supposed
the
sleigh,
sleigh,
yeah.
right.
It sounds like fun.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, Clay Hill Farm, they're the ones that come over and do the rides over at Fletcher's.
Oh, do they? Oh, right, okay.
Big-
nice.
2 big beautiful horses and wagons.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And make a
Thanks,
motion to
Joan.
accept the,
Oh, we don't
Do you
have
have
to
to do
move
that?
with Jones.
Okay.
She's reporting in, so, but thank you.
All right.
It's,
We did the
especially the treasurer's report, we have to always accept.
I did want to thank Janet for the picture and the article for the pickleball that ended up on the front page. I think that's the way we get things printed. If anybody else have any suggestions on photos or articles?
Did you see this, Nancy?
You're on the front page of the paper. I would, and what we do say is that people only see the front and the back. So we want to check, get them to open it up. We might have to put something big on there to make sure you open the paper. But I'm open to anybody. It has to be in by about the 10th of the month. So today is what, the 8th. So you have just a couple days to, if you have anything at all that you can think of, maybe I'll put the sleigh ride in, but something big and new and exciting, some good reading material that you want to add, we would
Well,
be
the
open to
Zumba Gold
that.
definitely, and all the new things,
Yeah.
if we can squeeze them on the front of the page, But I mean, pickleball's been such a big emphasis, and we've had such a good turnout, but, but it's good to, I want to talk about what we have accomplished.
Yeah, that was a
That's great.
beautiful front page. That
Yeah.
really was. Yeah.
Shucks. But we also had, so we're restricting it to Council on Aging members and friends of the Southampton Council on Aging, because, they, like at the Y, you used to just be able to go in and play at the Y. Now you have to register online and reserve your spot, and so we have limited space and limited time, so we'll talk a little bit in a minute more about the pickleball from what's happening tonight.
I think it's great that the newsletters are in the post office. And I'm wondering, are there other places within town that we could drop some off?
So there's a
Like
list of
Big
about a
Night.
dozen places that we send them. The library is one, and the post office is one. But
And
they
they
do
have
bring them to
Yeah,
chiropractors,
they have a PT.
dentists, Rite Aid,
For those of us that go to
Walgreens,
PT, we
hairdressers, but I agree. That we're
Yeah.
going to make a list, and we're going to make sure that they get there.
And
Yeah, I think it's great.
Is there some
Yeah.
place that you would also suggest? I'm just,
Like I take it
Where do you get
to
your hair done?
Outlook in West Hampton.
oh, okay.
Uh-huh.
I take it
Good.
to the dentist in Southampton.
To Dr. Laturi? No.
Craven,
Okay.
on Line
Oh,
Street, on your
okay.
RCI road.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We have
They're
one here.
Take it to
plentifully
the
available. If you
ESB.
want a bunch in your car and you can think of some place to
Yeah.
put them in, just let us know. So we
Yeah.
have an idea where they're at. But you're right.
I give it
It's
some
good
thought,
to-
like Big Y or something?
Yeah,
So
they're
Big
not
Y
big
will
Y.
take one.
Just one?
Just
and
one
post
and
it.
post it. And I'm not sure if they even do that anymore because.
Yeah, for a while, they
Union
stopped posting everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
I don't know.
Dunkin' Donuts, I think, they'll post one.
But we might be able to put some at McKell's, I'm not sure.
Well, that give me a reason to go there.
Yeah.
I have a coupon if you
Oh,
want.
yeah, Salon Advantage, I don't know if we go there.
Yes, Roz drops
does
off
that?
there.
Okay, good,
She
good.
drops off in the optician's office in that plaza also. She goes and takes them to Rite Aid.
Oh, the Polish National Credit Union, they'll take them, and Easthampton Savings Bank will take
Yeah.
them.
I've
great.
taken to Easthampton Savings Bank. I did not take them yet to Polish National, but I can put that on my list.
Well, I
Okay.
did give them some. Sometimes they come here, and
That's
we'll
right.
give it to them.
That's right.
But, yeah, it's nice to get them around town. I think even Tractor Trailer Supply said they would take some.
How
And
about
that's
Pure
why
Foods?
that's why I agree
And
with
Pure
you.
Foods
We need a
possibly.
list.
I'm
Yeah,
not
they're-
sure, but
I don't know, maybe we can post one in there, I'm not
Did you
sure.
say Fresh Foods?
Pure
Pure
Foods.
Foods.
Okay, I know where you mean. Yeah, yeah.
They can
They
ask
get a
them.
But that's why we need that list of where the places that want them. And that way, as people grab them and drop them off, they can sign off on it and we can see what we're not getting.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And Ray
Thank
takes
you.
care of Easthampton Community Enrichment Center.
Right, we get theirs and he takes ours.
Does Dunkin' Donuts let you do it?
No, just the one
Yeah.
that you can post on the
Yeah.
wall.
Because a lot of
People hang out there.
So that makes me, brings up a question, that, that $51 and
Yes.
whatever, which came out of the
Expense.
Expense.
Because we haven't
But
been
what
using it.
is the fund that the Easthampton Savings Bank is providing? They're providing some funds which are going to
The newsletter.
the newsletter. That's
The
different?
advertisement.
The advertising
for the
in the newsletter. So for the next mass mailing, I'm going to see what it would cost for the printer to fold them in half. It was just an oversight, and actually, there's a few glitches, the heading was in the wrong place, et cetera, et cetera. So it had to do with the mass mailing. We were doing envelopes at one time, so now we've done away with the envelopes. And now it's just in halves, and I guess when they used to do them 6 times a year, it was always done in half with a.
So then we don't pay for the newsletter at all.
Right, but the question that, is it Becky
Easthampton Savings
From
wondered if it was
Easthampton.
better to just give us money versus
Yeah.
sponsor the newsletter. I think the newsletters are our only avenue right now for marketing, so I think they're doing a fine job sponsoring it through them.
Yeah, without them,
Yeah.
and the others,
Right.
we would have to pay for the newsletter. So
Okay.
it
All right.
definitely pays for the newsletter for us, so.
And that's a lot of paper, ink, and,
All right.
processing.
I just wanted to make sure, because we did a little email back and forth, but
Yeah,
never
that's
really
right, I forgot
discussed
about
it,
that,
so.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that with those sponsors that we have right now are awesome, that we need to keep that going, because we need, the newsletter's really important right at this point.
Right, okay, good.
Okay, so next on the agenda is the budget. I don't know if everybody printed out their form or not, that what they received, but forwarded the form. And in meeting with Joan and having first, the subject for discussion today is whether to, right now, we're adding more of her hours to the state formula grant, which again takes away from our other opportunities from the state formula grant. We've tried to get away from that, but if we can continue to expand not just Joan's hours, but the center hours, and move this to a 31-hour per week position instead of a 26-hour per week position, then we don't get into the situation if we want to do after-hour programs and trying to how we're going to fund Joan's time for that. And so we're putting in requests for the budget, minus the cost of living, is 31 hours a week for Joan, and to fully pay the administrative assistant out of the town instead of out of the state formula grant. So right now, 7 hours comes from the town budget, 3 hours comes from the state formula grant. If we could fully fund an administrative assistant's position, then maybe we can use the state formula grant to put somebody in for maybe program and outreach and fund that out of the state formula grant instead of our day-to-day functioning. I don't think there's another administrative assistant in town that isn't funded by the town. And this is only 10 hours. Most administrative assistants, I think, at least are 12 to 15 hours, and we're only 10. So our other request would be to fully fund step one, all 10 hours from the town budget. All we can do is ask and try to justify. So that I'm opening up for discussion from the board and how you feel about that, or...
Well, one of the things is the state is really pushing for outreach workers at every council. So there's one point, we need the money to get an outreach person and to ask for 3 additional hours to be put on to pay for the assistant. Seems like a no-brainer to me. That's me.
And then we can use the state formula grant for
the
outreach.
Which the state is pushing for.
Which is so needed, and also a type of program manager, so Joan has time during her day to do, right?
All the stuff you
Director
do.
type, yes.
And again, to go to 31 hours for Joan, if they go back and look at the statistics, if 1/3 of the town is now seniors, then obviously there's a need. And are you meeting the needs of the seniors? The seniors are supporting the other programs in town, like when it's a school budget or something else. It's the seniors that are voting in favor of these things. It's time now for, let's turn it around and do something for the seniors. I mean, we're not there every 2 weeks saying to the select board, can you do this for the seniors? Can you do this? It's a rare occasion that we ask. So,
I mean, we're very fortunate on an override to actually get Joan to 26 hours. Because she was at, I think, 22, and then the rest was funded by the state formula grant. And we were spending a lot of money on the state formula grant for salaries.
When did we do that? When did that go?
Was that 2 years ago with the override?
yeah.
So you've been 26 for 2 years?
Yes, well,
That's
actually,
a full
we
fiscal year.
squeaked 26 out of it before I think we were
Yeah,
able to take
used
some
it
out of
from
the state
Frida.
formula grant.
Frida helped me too.
Yes, so she
as
used to get paid
administrative hours.
through Frida for administrative for 2 hours a week. now, because she's here, I mean, it's like, rather than take the money away from seniors and what they need from rides, we asked that the town support for the full 26 hours. So yeah, that's right. It used to be Frida
So
for
it's been
2
a
hours.
full fiscal year and it's in half another year.
You know, and I think if we stick to statistics, and I think the 2.5 is a good point, if we could find out how many seniors voted at the time the question came up, because obviously it was passed. So if there was a majority of seniors that helped pass that, and I go right back to, okay, when do we start doing something for the seniors that you keep going to? The well is getting very dry.
So, and I think, well, no, you should be able to have who voted in that election. Yeah. We should have that information.
Yeah, we just need to know how many.
What
and-
percentage were over 60 or whatever.
So what time do the
55.
town offices close? 4:30?
Yes.
Four, I think.
4.
Monday through Thursday? 8:30? Is it
8:30 to 4?
8:30 to 4?
Yeah, I think it's 8:30 to 4.
Okay.
So we're
And-
talking about another hour, you know, a day, basically.
So who has to approve that?
We have to have the funding, but it has to be approved by finance and the select board and then put into a vote for the town. Budgeting is a very complex process because a lot of people are vying for the same amount of money.
Right. And we asked for it last year. And last
We asked
year for 2 hours a week.
Yep.
So 28 hours, and that was denied.
Right, so we took it out of the state formula grant. So, I mean, but it's not a once in a lifetime request, it's an ongoing need, so.
Is this something like you talk with Ed about as your
Well,
supervisor?
he's the town administrator, but we need to put it in the budget.
Yeah, so he'll,
They'll be aware of what our budget requests are. Each of the departments put in a request every year, this time of year. It's due next week.
so part of the COA board's mission is to help form the budget. Even though Joan works for Ed, we will definitely meet with Ed to talk about the need. And
Right.
with,
His
you know,
support would be really helpful.
yeah.
And then when it comes before, if it passes finance, it has to go to the select board, then we'll need to have the backing of the seniors and the
That we
board.
can handle.
I know that.
You're not trying to get it on the special town meeting?
No,
Oh, no, this is
no,
for
no.
next year's budget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there is a special, that we should talk about, the town meeting, when is that? The 11th?
February 11th.
So is there anything that we need to do to, prepare for that? I mean, should it be in the newsletter? At least the date and
Yeah,
the
the date
time.
should be in the newsletter, yeah.
What's the big issue for the special town meeting?
Oh, many warrant issues. Well, we're going to have a whole thing on bylaws. That's a one of its own. There's a little bit of money transferring from various funds. We're going to be looking at the Hendricks land donation.
Oh, tell us.
On the corner of Cold Spring
Cold Spring
and
Rattle Hill.
Rattle Hill.
Oh,
The,
Ted Hendricks.
Ted Hendricks.
He's offering to-
It's about 8 acres right across the road, basically.
That has to be approved by the town.
Right, so Concom has recommended we accept it, and so it's
If
coming out of the
they
town warrant.
didn't accept that,
Okay, we're live.
So it's hear that, right?
Are you late for your meeting?
I'm waiting for my husband. He's always
gonna
Is
come
he
up
coming
here?
up to get you?
Anyway, there's a variety of things on
Stairs or an
there,
elevator.
but we'll have a long list. We were working on
The
some of it
warrants will
last
be
night.
posted when.
Yeah, they've got to be posted at least 2 weeks ahead of time, so it'll be posted by somewhere around we're going to vote on things on the 21st in terms of what's on the warrant, so shortly after the 21st, there'll be a complete list of what's going to be on the warrant.
Looks like he's there.
So by our next meeting, we should.
Speak of the angel, he appears.
Hi, Dory.
Watch your head, watch your head. Oh,
Yeah,
the glass table, they should remove
Go
that.
the other way,
glass
they
table.
should.
I don't know what that's for.
It's for whatever
to
device
be
was
up
stolen
there.
from up there.
Well, then it's time to remove that.
So did anybody else have any more? Because I think the budget is something we do need to gain agreement and vote on. Is there anything? And we're going to ask for the same $1,650 that we always get, because we have the state formula grant to cover most of our expenses.
And
so-
donations.
And
we do.
donations, yeah.
Generous.
Is there any other discussion on that, or any other different thoughts, or?
I voted yes, whatever it is.
You're such a positive gal.
Yeah.
Just sure you have like, the reasons why you need those hours. You
Well,
have
thank you. Sorry to run
documented
out.
that done in the
No,
past.
that's okay. I
Yeah.
do have the documentation from my senior center. You were early, you can leave early.
All right.
We thought we had a good case last year, but there just wasn't money to do it.
And I think they had just done the override, so I think, I don't know, like you said, it's the same well. So they were generous one year, and maybe they're a little not so generous the next year. Maybe this year will be our year again.
Yeah, well, we'll see, hopefully.
How things go.
So if I'm reading this, we're looking at $2,800 more? Is that what we're talking?
So, what did I?
I mean, your total for 19 is 32,1, and your total for 20 is 34,9.
Is that?
No, that's-
No, that's the one for 50.
That's the current budget, was 34,900.
Okay.
So now it's 42,650, basically.
Oh, okay.
So to bring
Really?
in,
Okay.
it's not on there, so
Oh.
instead of, because we hadn't done it, we haven't put it into the format itself, this is
Yeah.
just for discussion. So the 2021 request would be for director's wages, $33,012. And this is excluding the COLA, okay, the cost of living. And for the COA wages, that was the director's wages. For the COA wages, which is pretty much the administrative assistant, is $7,987. For a total of, plus the $1,650 of expenses, a total of $42,649. That's what, if this board concurs, we would be submitting. And then we would need whatever assistance and support. I mean, really, most directors are paid for 31 hours, or department heads, and there's not another administrative assistant that I'm aware of that is paid from a grant versus.
What's
and
the
that's
director's salary?
$33,012.
Oh, $12.
And that's at $20.40 an hour.
That should be embarrassing itself.
It's okay.
Speaking of department heads. Okay. Okay, so we're not asking to put Joan up at $25 an hour. We're just asking to increase her hours.
Why aren't we asked to increase?
That's why we're here to discuss. Yeah.
It's a fair wage. It's not, this is not a very busy council. It's just not. I mean, because we're a small community, so it's a fair wage. And it's, more than some and less than others. But it's not, I'm not here for the money, to tell you. Well, that's obvious. I love the work, and I love being able to promote the center and develop and increase the center, so.
So I guess that's a good question, Nancy, and I.
Do we have an idea of the directors in the area and what they're?
Well, we did do a study a few years ago, and $20 is below what they studied for similar
But you have
size
to,
town.
well, it has to be a similar town.
Similar size town, not
No,
just
not
areas.
Westfield and.
No,
because
similar,
they're big.
no. And the responsibilities that
Yeah.
go along with that. But there was a study done. I can find out from the PPPB what the range was for that. Our challenge at the time was that I think it was averaging $19 an hour when we went out to recruit somebody for the position. And at the time, there wasn't, I think we hired at 20. And it really, I'm not sure that I would consider it a fair wage. But I'm not sure we can get hours extended and hourly rate extended. So it's kind of like step by step. And certainly, I think we need to go back to the PPPB and find out what is the range for that position. What was it rated at?
I think the hours is the number one item right now.
I mean, when you talk about succession planning, I'm not sure when Joan decides at some point in time, 10 or 15 years from now to retire.
When I turned 75, I think it was 65, but when I turned 75, no.
I don't know. It's very difficult to recruit a qualified person, and we were very fortunate that Joan was available at the time and willing to work for that. So I don't disagree. I just look at step by step, and then
that
I
makes
think
sense.
a contract
For sure.
would make sense for the position versus, because a lot of the department heads have contracts, are contracted employees, not just hourly employees. And Joan is an hourly employee, which is also, but at $20.40, I would want to maintain her as an hourly employee. So she gets paid the extra hours that she works. But good question, I agree.
Thank you, Nancy.
Why
Yeah,
aren't
I
we?
think you're doing a great job.
I mean, we can certainly do that if that's what the board wants to do. This is just our brainstorming. So if the board says, well, let's put in for 31 hours at $24 an hour, we can do that. It's going to be tough when most people get 2% to justify, and
Yeah, it's,
in hindsight, I wish we had recruited at a different wage, but we didn't have the money in the budget to do that either, so it's just
We've come a long way in 2.5 years.
Just keep showing them.
Yes. I'd agree with
Make sure
that.
you keep,
Yeah, I agree with that, too.
advertising that to everyone.
Yeah, I mean, we've come a long way. You've brought us a long way. So thank you. So do we have a motion to accept the budget as proposed?
I so move.
I'll second. Joan, you can't vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, so that's completed. All right, so you can submit that?
Just verify the numbers, we'll back and forth. Thank you.
I'll get a copy of that back, yeah. Okay, so moving right along here. So tonight there's a Community Preservation Committee meeting as well as a Parks Commission meeting. And on both agendas are pickleball courts, the building of our pickleball courts. So I have, at 5:30 is Community Preservation. They're going to discuss our proposal. I know that Mark Reed from Parks is trying to see if he can get a quote for a study, because it's hard to, request a proposal to build 3 or 4 courts when we haven't really done a study yet. So step one would be to do a study and ask Community Preservation if they could give us some money to support this study.
Study of what, location or?
Yes. Yep. So I don't know where that falls, but we'll see. We may end up going to splitting some money with friends for that if we have to, but
How much money are we talking?
I don't know. I don't know how much this study would cost.
Who does the study?
Somebody like an architect or whatever to determine the actual, kind of like recommendations on where to build and
So
location.
that was done for Labrie.
It was done kind of randomly, free of charge for Labrie, but that wasn't a real story. No.
Charge for doing it? But-
Well, I mean, we can get kind of an outline, but it doesn't really give us, I'm not sure that we could do that. We were fortunate to get kind of a recommendation out of the first one, but we'll see. I mean, we may need to know more about, what else has to be done from a filling. That was just the layout. That wasn't a cost of how much it would cost to actually do it.
Oh, okay.
That was just like, we could position
This is
4
an
courts,
idea.
it would fit into this location. There's nothing about how much the cost would be associated with doing those 4 courts, for example.
How much land is that, Labrie?
Well, I don't really know. A lot of it's in wetlands, a lot of it's used for soccer, some of the baseball, so it kind of, and parking, so I'm sorry I don't have, I wanted to have I meant to bring a copy of that. It was 4 courts, it's kind of like right outside the baseball area. It's kind kind of like in the foul ball zone, from what I understand from people from the Parks Commission that are familiar with the baseball that's played there. You can't really go in further because it does get to be wetlands, and then you get into the soccer, and so we're asking them to take a look at Conant Park to see what the options are. So at the Parks Commission, we're going to see if they come back with any recommendations for Conant Park and how many courts we could put in there.
I'm just thinking out loud, in the far future, if we should find a piece of land to build a independent senior center that would have pickleball courts nearby. I'm not sure, I know that's for another discussion and another time, but I'm not sure,
And maybe another decade.
Another decade. That's true, that's true.
You know how long we've been trying to get a public safety complex?
That's true.
So, I mean, I don't want to depend on when we build a new senior center to have pickleball courts. And the other thing is that the phys ed teacher from Norris is going to come to the Parks Commission, because they also, it's not just a council on aging desire to have pickleball courts in town. It's a community desire. You know, it's the people that play now, it's the kids that play at school.
They might be playing with their grandparents.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to challenge those sixth
I wonder if
graders.
there's any other town-owned land that would be appropriate too, not just Conant or LaBrie.
Yeah, I mean, we've asked about that.
You
Yeah.
know, I mean, I'm not sure, location-wise it might be a little bit weird, but you know, right across where the old Grange Hall used to be, we own that land.
Right.
It's a vacant spot, right to the right of Robert Floyd's gallery there, in between. Where the Grange used to be that they tore down years ago. Empty lot.
People keep saying that's like a septic type of thing for future
Well-
police, I don't know.
Oh, for future, well, maybe.
I don't know, because I've always thought about that also for
Yeah.
affordable housing. Why don't we
Yeah,
put
exactly.
something from an affordable perspective in there?
Habitat House or something, yeah.
Or Habitat, yeah, so,
Yeah, I
yeah,
was
we can certainly,
But maybe they could just be a little bit, whoever's going to do this, be a little bit broader than just our current fields, but maybe if we think about any other places in town that might be conveniently located. I mean, I think that's the challenge, is where's something kind of central that's not way out that people can
And then you
get
have
to.
excavation and everything else, and it'll add to the cost.
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
But some of the people like the fact that it's near, keep the courts and that kind of stuff, you know, all in one area versus put it in the middle of the baseball, you know, baseball, soccer, kids area. But, I mean, it's because it's a different type of sport. I mean, you have tennis here, but pickleball over there. And so, I mean, we'll see what, if he came back, if Bill Cannon came back with anything, and he's the architect that they kind of did the first layout plan. But he was very familiar with LaBrie because he was involved in that whole layout, so. So anyway, those meetings are 5:30 and 6 tonight, so I just wanted to make you aware of it in case you have nothing on your schedule tonight. Okay, so we talked about the expansion of the language on a state formula grant. So the COA bylaws, I sent you a couple things, so I just handed everybody the most recent one, I think. Okay. So the only change that has occurred since this was typed up, I think happened last night, where on section 1, there is hereby established a council on aging consisting of 7 persons and 2 alternates was added in last
good
night.
thinking.
Appointed by the select board from the voters and residents of the town.
I have questions about this. Is this to be drafted as part of the general bylaws?
It is part of the
town?
general, that's what, Chris
Okay.
is on the bylaw committee.
So, shouldn't it then just reiterate the bylaw that was passed at town meeting and approved by the Attorney General?
Part of what we're doing, though, is looking at ones that need updating and things that the language is just not clear, and we're trying to clarify some language, simplify it, and then it goes back to town meeting and gets to a review again by the Attorney General if it gets passed by town meeting.
Because, to be honest with you, number one, I didn't know what its purpose was. I know I reacted.
This whole series, we've got about 15 that are going to be on the warrant for the town meeting. We've been working on it.
This has
Yeah.
been in existence, and this is just updating.
Yeah, this is
it to
updating. So
any
every few years,
changes.
we need to kind of update things and make sure that, you know, things are still in sync with any, especially with those that are related to laws, state laws, things that have to be updated that way, that we're not out of sync with that. But then some of the language in some of these were just really, I don't even know what the word is, but very, very convoluted, just not simple, understandable language. And so part of what we've been trying to do is just to make it understandable by anybody reading it and just be clearer on certain things, so.
And I guess I get a little confused on the terminology. We are the board, right? The board for the Council of
But this
Aging.
is for the Council on Aging.
I know
This
that.
is not for the board. Okay.
All right. So when they say there's a Council on Aging of 7 persons,
Well, then that's the board, right?
right,
Yeah.
so shouldn't that be identified as the board?
Governed by an advisory board.
Well, then the other thing I have is, why don't we just simplify it? And I didn't rewrite it because I didn't know the purpose of it, but just to reflect that, in accordance with the provisions of Chapter 40, Section 8B of the
Which is
general
referred
laws.
under number 5.
Right. But
5 in here.
I think I found this very confusing. And to just say that in accordance with this, the town has established a council of aging and an advisory board consisting of 7 members to be appointed by the select board with and mention the 2 alternates.
Isn't that what section 1 says?
Yeah, so what's in the light thing is what's in existence right now. The non-bolded is what's in existence, what's
The
on the
bold.
books.
I'm looking
So
at
And
there's
what's
their
proposed is the bolded part.
with the 2.
Right.
So number,
Alternate.
yes, so
And it covered-
hereby,
Yeah.
wait,
Yep.
sorry.
No. And a couple places
Yeah, I
we
should have
move
put
things
in
around.
2
So
alternates
Right.
in the wrong spot, but yeah. So there's the hereby established
Yeah.
council governed by an advisory board consisting of 7 residents
Yeah.
and 2 alternates
Yeah.
appointed by the select
I'm
board.
not sure what your changes.
Well,
were
I think it's difficult to discuss these, orally. I think you almost need to do drafts to just clear it up. For example,
That's what you guys did, right?
yeah,
there is hereby
That's what-
established
yes.
a council on
Yeah.
aging. We're really talking about the board.
No,
No, it says governed by,
it's governed by an advisory
the
board.
Council on Aging is governed by a 7-person advisory board.
if you
and
go
so-
back to our bylaws, our board bylaws,
Yeah.
that's exactly what it is.
Right. And if you know, so like a simple change, for example, if you look at section 6 at the very bottom, the Council on Aging Board serves as an advisory board. That was way down at 6. So all we did was move it up and combine it into one to make it front and center. So part of it is just reordering things so
Because
that,
this was added.
so that it flows, yeah, so.
Yeah, it was changed. It used to be, we were the governing body of the
Right, yeah.
Council on Aging, and we changed that a couple
Right,
years
so
ago.
so section 6 actually got incorporated into the new bolded section 1. So the Council on Aging governed by an advisory board consisting of 7 residents, and we want to add now and 2 alternates, right?
Right, yep,
As-
so I
yeah,
added it to
appointed-
the wrong spot.
Yeah, appointed by the select board to serve designated staggered terms. Okay.
And then section 2,
Stays the same.
Stays the same. that the chair,
So
Sure.
I guess I understand, maybe I'm confused now too. The chair of the Council on Aging Board?
yeah, it should say the chair of the Council on Aging Board, Chris,
Why are we
maybe?
talking about the board? If this is the Council on Aging, doesn't the Council on Aging Board have its own that we've already?
We have our own bylaws.
Yeah, we went over those months
Procedures,
ago.
right. This is what currently exists in the town.
This is what's on our website right now.
Right.
What's not bolded.
So
What's on our website right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the reasons I resigned from the bylaws committee.
Believe me.
Well,
Don't get me started.
that is confusing because
Yeah.
it does look like there's only 7 people that are involved with the Council on Aging, but that's just the governing body.
That's the governing
Right.
board, right?
Yeah.
Governed by an advisory board.
And is
So why are we
it
still
Council on
talking
Aging?
about them?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, the Council of Aging may appoint such clerks and other employees as it may require. I mean, shouldn't it be the director of the COA?
Well, that's further down.
But then
That's-
why are we?
I don't know if we're talking about the clerk like
I think they're
Nancy.
talking about the secretary. If we couldn't get Nancy or anybody to write notes, we could hire somebody to do it.
to do it. So that's the clerk for the
So, I
board,
mean,
yes.
those are the bylaws for this
For
board.
the board.
Would that be part of the
Should they
general
be separate?
bylaws of the town? In other words, I just think it's needlessly complex and restrictive.
I can understand section 1, and that's the board.
Right.
But then we're talking about the
Section
council
2
on
and 3.
aging, not the board. Does the board have its own bylaw?
Yes, we have our own set of policies and
Town.
procedures.
Town
We don't
bylaws.
have town approved, but we have.
Right.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
That's
But
why-
Now's the
that's why
time.
we-
Now's the time.
that's why it's
We're
here.
Working on it again this afternoon.
And 3.
No, before. well,
Could I-
Before?
Make a suggestion, this isn't a motion.
Are you looking for any input with that?
Yeah, no,
At
we
3?
definitely have to. Well, Francine and I are going to try and, based on the comments from Select Board last night, and that was the only change that they came up with last night. So you guys are really the authority on this because this is your bylaw.
That's why it-
That's why
we
it's
have it-
coming here.
yeah, came
Yeah.
here
Right.
for
That's why we're coming
our
here before
input.
we send it off to, have it looked at by our
Does that
town
make
lawyers.
sense?
And is there any
Make good points, yeah.
time frame that we have to operate in? Because I would like to go home and work on it on a computer and
They want to get it done today.
If we want it on the special town meeting warrant,
I'm not sure.
we're at a deadline.
I think we can,
Yeah,
we
so-
sent it out a while, I know, I sent out an earlier
Yeah.
version on this. I think this discussion, we should be able to wrap it up with this discussion without having to wordsmith any more than
Well-
the bylaw committee. If you want to rejoin the bylaw committee, Jim.
No, I don't want to do that, but in fairness,
Well,
I
that's-
made my living being a nitpicker on
Right.
rules and regulations.
Let's look at the couple
And
places that are
let me-
problematic.
Let me make a suggestion, if I
All
may.
right.
Why don't we go through it section by section?
Right, I was just going to say, let's look
Okay.
at a
Let's
couple
start in
places.
the middle.
So number one, we've sort of got there, the in
There is
bold.
hereby established a council of aging.
On aging.
Governed-
It's on aging, not of aging. I know people do confuse that.
On aging.
COA
On-
is
on
on
aging.
aging, not
Okay.
of
So that's
aging.
On
correct,
aging.
yep.
Yeah, I just misread it.
No, that's okay.
Council on Aging governed.
By an advisory board.
Now, do we govern or do we advisory?
Well, I
Council on
think-
Aging is governed.
Why not just say on aging and an advisory board consisting of 7 residents and 2 alternatives appointed by the select board? Because I don't know, do we govern?
That's true.
I don't know, do you? What do your bylaws say?
Well, I mean, we're advisory, so we,
But we did govern
We
as far
advise you.
as choosing, when it comes to hiring.
and we do govern by the, what we just went through, the budget process. So in some ways, we do govern.
I would say that's administration. I mean, govern to me is day-to-day direction
Okay.
and
This board,
It does not govern, Joan does not report to us.
but when Joan was hired, who hired you?
We did, because
The
at that
board
time, she did report to the
But
chair. of the
more
board.
precisely-
Then
Oh,
changed
it
it to
changed.
advisory, yes.
this board made a recommendation to PPV, which approved the request, and it was gone to the select board. So really, the select board hired Joan.
The recommendation, though, and the interview process came from us. So we
Right.
really did, we were responsible for the selection process.
All right, and
We
again,
were the only ones.
I'm on a learning curve here, so maybe I'm wrong, but
So Jim, your point is to take out the word govern and just say council on aging and an advisory board. Is that what you'd like to do?
right.
I agree with that.
All right, let me just make that. Okay, and it's 2 alternates is the right terminology.
2 alternates, yes.
7.
All right.
Considering the 7 residents and 2
And 2 alternates
alternates.
appointed by the select board to serve designated staggered terms.
Perfect.
And then section 2, there might be an issue
And
there.
not to be nitpicking, but consisting of 7 members and 2 alternates
We want residents.
from among residents appointed by the select board.
Yeah, I could see that. 7 members and 2 alternates, as it said here, from the residents in town.
Selected from among town residents by the select board.
As opposed to 7 residents.
Right.
You're
Just
saying
sort of
selected
staggered.
from?
Members,
Selected
From
from
among.
among town residents. Is that what you want to say?
7 residents and 2 alternates selected.
Selected from among town residents.
No, it's 7 members and 2 alternates selected among residents.
Selected from among.
So it's seven members, yeah, from among.
Right.
From among residents, yeah.
Yeah.
7 members and 2 alternates
Selected from among town residents
This is fun.
by the select board.
Oh, if we only had those town residents jumping up to
Oh, yeah.
say.
Why do you need from and
You glad you came to this one?
from town residents?
Well, because that's from the pool from whom the select board is making the thing.
Okay, we can live with that. I don't have a problem with that.
I'm not grammatical.
Let's,
I see your point, though, about there's a council on aging and there's a council on aging board, so which one are we referring to?
Right.
All right.
so does section 2 apply? The chair of the council on aging shall be elected annually by said council by vote of its membership. That's what's there right now.
And I think that's before we had our own policies and procedures in place,
So maybe it's a delete.
so
That's easy.
I don't, we're not talking about the council on aging anymore, we're talking about the board.
Board,
So
right.
let's delete.
Okay.
Section 2, go on.
Section
Do you have to
3.
refer to that at all? No.
No, I don't think so.
No, I mean, it would be like for the PPPB to include the entire manual
Yeah.
in the general bylaws.
Right.
We really wouldn't do that, in my opinion.
And so the reason we're deleting is because the way this is stated, this refers to the board
Correct.
Correct.
Right,
rather than the council on aging.
Right.
Yep.
Much like section 3.
Yeah, section 3 we already had proposed to delete because somebody had said that earlier on, I think.
Yep,
So
yep.
section 3, as it was worded about holding office until their successors are designated, is gone.
Yep.
But the new section, well, now it will be section 2. We'll have to renumber since we deleted that other one. So this will be the new section 2.
Right.
Council on Aging may appoint such clerks and other employees as it may require.
And by
So
council
then-
of aging, are we
Is it
referring
the
to the
board again?
board or to the director?
Because that is duplicate, because it does say down here, right, where does it say that the term, the director may delegate it, and the director has a responsibility, so I would take out section 3 as well, Chris. Does everybody feel comfortable with
I
that?
feel comfortable with
Right.
that.
So was there a time when, like, Jen would take the notes for this meeting?
Yes.
So that probably fulfilled, no?
I don't know.
Oh,
No, she did.
She did, I
That was when
But that has to
someone
do
else
with
was
the board,
secretary.
not the council on aging.
And did it
And she had Jen taking the notes.
But to me, we're not paying you to do the notes for
Yeah,
the board.
exactly.
Right.
She wasn't supposed to, but there was no one
Anyway.
else to do it.
Yeah, section 4, I think, is fine, and also reflects why the other changes were necessary.
Yeah,
Because
section
the
4
hiring
becomes
authority
section
is the
2.
select board.
Yeah, so the select, so the
And not
COA
us.
director is hired by and ultimately responsible to the appointing authority, the select board. Is that still true? That is true?
yes.
Okay. The select board has the power to hire, evaluate, or terminate the director and may delegate some or all of these functions to the town administrator. Director has a responsibility for the hiring and supervision of paid staff and unpaid volunteers.
Is that true?
So that becomes number 2.
Yep.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Just
Okay,
like a
that'll be
department
good.
head, and
That's-
again,
that'll be number 2.
$20.40 an
Yeah.
hour.
I thought,
What?
I thought Ed was your supervisor.
Well, I think the way it's,
Technically-
yeah, it's set up, that they've delegated to
Yeah,
him,
we-
but
we
she
delegated.
reports to
we
him.
went through that too with the difference between a town manager and a town administrator. And the town administrator works for the board, so he's really a surrogate for the board. And the board can say, town administrator, you take care of it, you do it.
He
But
signs payroll.
but ultimately,
essentially.
he's responsible to the select.
Used to be the board would sign payroll, so
Right,
town
yeah.
administrator signs payroll.
Yeah. So then, what was there on 3, just because we can finish this up. So 3 was a little bit short, and we've just proposed expanding that based on some comments that had come into us from somewhere, I'm not even sure where now. So it was stated, okay, it shall be the duty of the Council on Aging to carry out programs designed to meet problems of the aging in coordination with programs of the Department of Elder Affairs. So this is modified, what we're proposing shall be the duty of the Council on Aging to carry out programs designed to meet the needs of aging residents.
Yes, thank you.
Rather
I
than
knew that had
problems.
been changed.
60-plus years of age, just to clarify that, in coordination with programs of the Department of Elder Affairs pursuant to chapter blah blah. So are we correct on the Department of Elder Affairs, and is that the right term?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you can say the Department of Elder Affairs and the Executive Office of Elder Affairs. In Section 40, it refers to the Department of Elder Affairs, but it's not uppercase, it's all lowercase, so I'm not really, but it doesn't necessarily refer in Chapter 40, Section 8B to the Executive Office of Elder Affairs. So I would just leave it Department of
It
Elder,
seems we use capital letters a lot more these days.
but it's not. Yeah, it's not yet.
Okay, so with that, if that's true, then we have three articles, okay?
Okay.
3 sections.
Perfect.
One beginning, there is hereby.
Right?
The second one is the COA director is hired. And the last one is, shall be the duty of the Council on Aging, in bold,
Right.
right?
So there's 3 sections.
There's 3 altogether. Okay.
That's fine, yeah.
So do we have a motion to accept those changes as a board?
I'll make that motion.
Before we move to Section 6, we're going, oh, I'm
That's
sorry.
already
moved
done.
to
Yeah,
one.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, I second the motion.
All in, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Shortened it up.
Good job.
Chris is a
None of
part-time
you much-
resident of our
must have
house.
watched the select board meeting last night. About 2
I
hours.
was watching some of that on TV.
Okay, great, thank you. Thank you for your input.
I imagine.
Jim?
My pleasure.
Okay, good. Okay, we're not going to deal with renaming of the senior center right now. So the only other thing is the conflict of interest, and I can send you, if you may have to read, let me just go through this list of people that are, so everybody has to do their certificates again, so we can get those out to you or do them at the next meeting, whichever. But the people that have that, for conflict of interest that have expired, because it's for 2 years, Josie, well, myself, because I did it in 2018, and so it's expiring right now. It looks like, Flo, do you take conflict of interest? Yes, so Flo. Joan, you still, you expired.
You should do it.
Yes.
You expired.
Lori,
People do die.
Lori, you
I'm
expired at the end of the year.
We're in heaven.
Is this the online?
Yes, this is the online one. Kay?
Sounds like all of us.
I'm due now?
You have to do, you're due now, yes. Okay. Darlene is due, past due.
So, staff.
Nancy's,
I should be good.
Nancy's good until November.
Me and Yvonne are new, right?
Yeah. And Yvonne is good, and Richard has to take it again.
So all the staff for the COA has
Yes,
to get it
yep,
done.
yep.
So you can do it
I think
during
I
work
have to
hours
take it again,
online.
too.
Yes, Jim, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I looked it all, I forgot, it's a blank next to your name because you're new, so
That's-
yes, you have to take it
that's the
again.
story of my life.
So basically, other than Yvonne and Nancy, everybody really has to take the conflict
So
of
the annual
interest again.
certificate stuff is online to be able to do?
But that's a test, that's an online test.
Okay.
It may be part of that attachment, so.
That state office that state ethics requirements attachment?
So it's the one that says,
Lucy
notice to
Dalton.
all municipal employees, there's a link in that, and I was gonna make copies of this for everybody, which I can do, okay? So, but if you go to the document, I'll send out just that document
Good.
to the board.
Okay, that's good.
And that way, you have the link. It's down here under section 2, and there's a link, and you just click on the link and you just go through that. And then I'll also attach just the certificate for the open meeting law, because I think everybody's good on, open meeting law certification. Flo, you guys have to take open meeting law as employees?
I think we had, did you sit through a meeting like?
Well, that
think
was the
it's for
training
boards.
class, but, I think it's for
I think
boards.
it's for
That's for open meeting law to manage these meetings, so I'll send out. So Yvonne's good, of course, but everybody has to do their certificate again. So I'll get that together and make sure that we have it all before the next meeting, and if we can do the training before the next meeting, get everything done. I'll try to make it as clear as possible what is needed, okay? In an email, and get that out to you.
And you'll send it to me as well.
And I always copy you on everything.
Thank you.
So those two things, conflict of interest, looks like everybody besides Yvonne and Nancy, because they were newly appointed. Okay, anything
It
else?
says here, conflict of interest summary, acknowledgement receipt due annually.
Yeah, so we have to do the receipt annually. Everyone's going to have to submit the receipt annually, but you don't have to take the test again.
Okay.
Okay, but it's an annual receipt. Yours isn't really due now, but you may as well submit it now if you want. So I'll send out the certificate and the training for conflict of interest in one email, and then a certificate for open meeting law, and then you just basically have to say, this is the certificate for receipt of open meeting law materials. I can make a quick copy of this before we leave. Once you look at everything that's listed on here, the open meeting law, the Attorney General's regulation, the open meeting law guide, and a copy of the open meeting law determination issued by the Attorney General. Blah, blah, blah. So those are the four things that we have to refer to if you need to be reassessed. So I'll find out who on this list has to be, because I think it's every 3 years that happens. But you have to turn in a certificate every year. So I'll send them out under 2 different emails, so they're not kind of just thrown together as one big blob.
Thank you.
Okay? Because we just got it late last week or early this week, or what's today?
Wednesday.
Oh, is it a day?
Yeah, Wednesday.
Jim, is Wednesday a good day for you to meet for the job description? Would next Wednesday be a possibility?
Yes, I have,
Isn't today Elvis's
Right.
birthday?
Elvis's birthday?
Today?
let me check my internet calendar here. Yes, yeah, you want to do it next week?
Sure, whatever's good for you, 9, 10, 11, whatever.
So our next meeting is February 5th? Right?
For those who don't.
And please make it 2020 and not just 20. If everybody's seen all those postings
Yes.
on Facebook
Yes.
about that.
Yes.
Because people can fill in whatever year they
20
want.
what? 2017, 2016?
Can you imagine a loan document?
Yeah, right, yep.
Yeah.
Could be dangerous. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn?
I second.
All in favor? All right. Thank you.
Good time to go to bed.